All right, you are ready to go.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Executive Committee meeting for Manhattan Community Board 4. My name is Jeffrey LaFrenta. I'm chair of CB4, and I'm pleased to call this meeting to order. We are operating this meeting under our hybrid policy, which is why folks are able to join us online and here at our district office in person on West 33rd Street. The agenda has been circulated in advance of this meeting, in advance of this meeting. Just a couple of other reminders to executive committee colleagues. The committee schedule is out, so be sure to review that today and make any flags to Jesse as necessary. But otherwise, without further ado, I want to welcome our friends at EDC, two of whom are joining us this evening to talk about updates on the Pier 94 project. I'll let them talk about what's happening tomorrow and then going forward on that. But without further ado, Diana, I'm going to ask you to pronounce your last name, but the Borough Director of Government and Community Relations, and then Raven Anderson is the VP for Real Estate Transaction Services at EDC. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey. And it's pronounced Sweetie. There's a silent J, which tends to throw people off.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us this evening. Like Jeffrey said, my name is Diana. I'm an assistant vice president in EDC's Government and Community Relations Division, and I'm joined by my colleague Raven from EDC's Real Estate Transaction Services team. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as you know, conversations with CB4 on Pier 94 have been long ongoing. We've been limited on what we've been able to discuss while negotiations were ongoing related to Pier 94. Although now that we have finalized the lease, we're here to present on the status of Pier 94 and what you should see upcoming. I know that there were a lot of letters back and forth between EDC, CB4, Vornado, the elected officials, while negotiations were ongoing. So we're really happy to be here to present now that the lease process has concluded and kind of what's coming up next, because I know everybody is eager for next steps. So, as I'm sure you're all familiar, Pier 94 is located on the west side at West 54th Street. You can see the pier and the head house here in pink. This slide shows some of the project renderings. We believe that investing in the film and television production studio use is one of the best vehicles to achieve the shared goals of economic development, job creation, and public realm improvements that New York City needs. And this project in particular represents a unique public-private partnership between the city, EDC, Vornado, Hudson Pacific Properties, and Blackstone. And New York City's current film and production studio use infrastructure is quite dated, which makes it difficult to get productions to do film work here. And there's a clear need for purpose-built facilities for film and TV studio use. This is a historic project from the scale of the public-private partnership to really cementing New York City as one of the preeminent places for the film and television industry, while also fulfilling longstanding community needs. I'll also note that to succeed in economic development as a city, we really look towards industries with a big potential for high growth and industries that help keep New York City competitive with other major cities. So Sunset Pier 94 will be a first of its kind space. It's home to both state-of-the-art film and production technology that will make New York City remain competitive with other comparable markets. And this was a long-stalled project, and this administration and EDC have worked really hard alongside a private sector to find a pathway forward on a project in a way that results in good-paying jobs while improving the waterfront and delivering on those public realm and public amenity improvements that I mentioned. So here's an overview schematic of the film and TV studio uses. There will be a new head house and renovated pier shed, just over 80,000 square feet of space across 6 sound stages, turnaround production and ancillary support space, including parking below the head house. There's about 25,000 square feet of public space, including the pier access and viewing platform at the end of the pier, restrooms and a community amenity room. There are built-in resiliency improvements, including the elevation of the pier shed and the head house, and there's an estimated about $350 million in private capital for construction related to the project. We're particularly excited about the critical public amenities and benefits that the project will deliver. public restrooms for Clinton Cove Park, a 1,850 square foot community amenity space adjacent to Clinton Cove Park to be operated in coordination with the Hudson River Park Trust. Like I mentioned, the 25,000 square feet of public access area, including pier access along the northern apron and a viewing platform on the western edge of the pier, as well as circulation and pedestrian and cyclist safety improvements. And to touch on some of the recent and upcoming milestones, as I mentioned, EDC has been in the process of negotiating an amended and restated lease to allow the site to be developed for the production studio campus and deliver the public benefits that were long overdue to the community, like the waterfront access, the bathroom, and the community room for park users. And now that the process has, that process included an administrative hearing called 13012G. There was a 30-day public notice period, and the hearing was in May 2023. The lease was finalized in August 2023. And now that we have finalized the lease, we're very focused on next steps for the project, moving it forward and finally being able to deliver the project and the public benefits to the community. EDC has been conducting some upfront repairs to Pier 94. The project is officially breaking ground tomorrow. I know Jeffrey and some of your leadership will be attending, and the project completion and studio opening is expected in December 2025. So we're here this evening to speak to the status of the project and what's to come. Like I mentioned, the official groundbreaking is tomorrow. I know that there's also a meeting on Wednesday that Jeffrey is attending with elected officials and Vornado for them to present a project update. So you'll also receive a more substantive project update directly from them. And looking ahead, there are some exciting milestones on the horizon. We're, I think, all really encouraged by how quickly everything is mobilized. After finalizing the lease, people will be able to see ongoing work take place, and a key part of that is also making sure that there is ongoing communication and transparency as we move through these next steps and through the anticipated opening in December 2025. So we as EDC will continue to be communicative and transparent on next steps. I know there are ongoing conversations with Vornado about what the right cadence for updates to the public are. I'm sure that will be discussed on Wednesday, but that's the update that we have for you tonight, and we're happy to take questions.
Well, Diana, thank you. I should have started by saying, reminding folks that it was EDC that reached out after you guys had executed your lease to sort of kick off and have be in attendance at this meeting. So we're very thankful for that. And gosh, as this committee knows, we've had a lot to say about Pier 94, and you do as well, Diana, but that was a really positive update. I think, I don't have any questions at the moment, but I throw it out to everybody else, and I'm happy to share some other things as it relates to the Vornado elected official discussion as well. But any of the folks on the committee?
Well, I was the timeline that you shared wasn't in the deck that we had received previously. So thank you. Can you speak to the timeline for construction? I know you said opening in I think it said 2025 up there, or I'm not sure. But can you speak to the more precise timeline? And
Go ahead.
and then also, if at this point the drawings that are included in the deck are like. Is that the final drawing? Is there an opportunity for additional community feedback? Will we fully past that stage? Just where that stands at this time?
Yeah, as I understand, I'll get started, and Raven, you can jump in. The drawings, as I understand, are final. The project went through special permit review, went through the Public Design Commission, this 13012G process. So there's been a long process to get us where we are. So those components are final. And as to the construction timeline, I'm sure Vornado will speak in greater detail to this. But as I mentioned, EDC is also doing some upfront repair to the pier, and that's happening concurrently with Vornado's work. So all of that is starting as we speak and in earnest tomorrow with the groundbreaking. But Raven, if you have any more details, please jump in.
Sure. Yeah, I think the more detailed timeline is better put to Vornado, but from what we've seen and spoken to them about, they've already begun construction. We've completed some utility shutoff work so they can begin demolition of the head house immediately. They've done some sort of preliminary work. And the phasing plan that we see has them completing everything, including the public amenities program by December 2025 and beginning operations then. So that is the plan, and we hope they achieve that.
Raven, if I could just ask for a little detail on that, when you say the public amendment plan, does that include the greenway and pedestrian improvements, sort of that where you've cited the city bike dock area? Is that included in that?
It does. I just spoke about this with them today. Their plan is to complete those by that same Q4 2025 date as well. And I know they've had preliminary conversations with the DOT folks planning the city bike rollout as well, to align on that timeline.
I think that will be a constant question of ours, since the pushback as to why that could not be included in the sort of final completion of the lease was because it was state issued permits. So it's definitely going to be something we're going to be keen to wanting to ensure is executed in tandem with the rest of the construction.
Yep. Yeah, from what we know, the plan is for those to all happen concurrently and for it to be completed on the same 2025 timeline.
Bert?
Yeah, I just I have a question so I can further understand what I saw. I guess you call it the head house on the island on the main end. So the studios are in the head house, or what's on the pier?
There's one sounds. Sure, Diana, maybe you can bring up that schematic picture again. There's one soundstage on the pier. The majority of them are in the head house, and then a lot of the pier space is sort of ancillary support space for the studio use, and then it's called production support, and then office space. So like probably, back office related to the film and television tenant, but it could be other office space as well.
Is there any public pedestrian area around the periphery of the pier? Because that's what we have down in Chelsea, in our piers.
There is. It's hard to see on this diagram. There's a walkway that goes around. Yeah, on this one you can see it around the outside.
It looks like it's a little earlier. It doesn't.
It should, yeah.
Yeah, so it's only on the north side and the western edge that there's pedestrian walkway. Can't walk along as a public on the south side of the pier.
You can't go around. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Jesse, was your hand still up? I saw it go back down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's better addressed to Vornado, but I'll ask real quick, which is just, our board is focused on public access to restrooms as well, and I know that they have that there, and I just want to confirm our understanding if that's 24-hour public restroom. Is it going to be staffed by someone from Vornado? Where they're expecting city to somehow staff that? Is there any more detail around that restroom?
I cannot remember off the top of my head what the hours of the restrooms are. I think I will have to get back to you. I don't want to say the wrong.
I think so. It would be the same as the River Park Trust bathrooms across the board, because it'll be the trust. I think that what my understanding is that who would manage them, but that's certainly a question we can ask to Vornado and the trust as well.
It does say in the presentation that the trust would be managing the bathroom.
Got it.
Change.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, can I answer?
Yes, Paul.
Ask a question on the timing of the relocation of the city bike rack. And
It's not a relocation, it would be a
a
new.
new bike, but
Yep.
I'm sorry, relocation of the bike path that
Right.
currently runs where the city bike rack is. They're now going to reroute under the bridge and in front of the building. And that is a serious pinch point now in terms of pedestrians and bicycling during the height of the summer. And so I heard you say fourth quarter 2025 for the installation of the new city bike. I just want to have you be cognizant of I like to have it sooner. I want everything to be sooner, but to be cognizant of the heavy bike and pedestrian traffic at that pinch point, like on that map where that blue is, that is a congestion point on the bike trail. And so just be cognizant, Q4 2025 would make more sense to be less bike traffic. So thank you.
Got it. Great.
Paul.
Actually, and Jackie, can I
Okay.
ask a quick question? And I may have missed this, I'm sorry, I came late, but I know that there's been a lot of sort of parking issues about catering and everything else about those vehicles. And I'm just wondering, I know that there's less than 100 spaces below the building. What are the provisions for support trucks of these movie units? Where would that parking be? Inside. The plaza.
My understanding, and probably best to confirm with Hudson Pacific and Vornado as well, is that there are spaces in the dedicated lot that it's possible for them to put support trucks in as well. You can kind of see it like after the gate in this diagram, but I'm not sure exactly where within that parking lot they would put those. So I know. Yeah, so I think that, you know, a truck, I don't think fits below grade in those parking spaces, but I think to the extent they need them, the plan is to put them in that front parking lot there, but best to confirm with them as well.
Thank you.
Hector?
Oh, I'm sorry, Hector's over.
Oh, he's, yeah, I gotta bring him over.
I apologize.
Just hanging out, waiting for him to show up on his own there, Jesse.
Sorry.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I had a question concerning job opportunities for these new sound studios. Will there be a big drive to try to hire local? Because I know some of these studios like to hire, you know, from more experienced production studios within the production companies. Is there going to be any allowances for that, or even the, you know, the maintenance portion of the stages themselves?
Yeah, so the lease has our sort of standard hire NYC and you know, local hire provisions that EDC includes in all of its leases, which have a number of those provisions and goals that the tenant needs to hit on them, or, you know, has to submit plans to hit at the very least. There's also a sort of workforce training component designed to sort of give New York City residents pathways into the film industry to try and take advantage of the opportunities here. So I would say it definitely is a focus on the operations of this facility to try and have these be, you know, good local jobs for residents of the city, and to increase sort of the opportunities that they have to get involved, both through sort of, you know, the standard prioritization that EDC has for that, and also for some specific sort of workforce development contributions in the lease.
Great. Thank you very much.
I think I just want to, this will continue to be a talking point, and we'll raise this with the development partners as well about the jobs, but oftentimes the box is ticked when they host a job fair, and we don't find that actually is a net gain for hyper local community jobs. And so I'm not super fresh on the hire NYC stuff that's a part of the lease. So that may be something that EDC you may want to be prepared to speak to at a future meeting, as you know, the interest in the development, and then therefore the jobs you know, comes forward. But that is something that is a regular issue of ours, and the council member now has his jobs training pipeline program as well. So it would be great if we could end up finding a way to fold this into that, because it's 400 permanent jobs that this will create, and I think 1,300 construction jobs. So it's not a small number for the neighborhood.
Certainly, yeah, and I'll defer to Diana, but I think that would be an ongoing conversation we'd be happy to have on this.
Yeah, that's right.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being here today. We look forward to continued updates and hopefully more positive updates on this timeline. And again, I just want to say thank you guys for kicking off with this communication. And likewise, it was a first to have Vornado reach out to meet on a project as well. So thank you for being here.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody, appreciate it.
Okay, up next on our agenda, 'tis budget season. Over to you, Leslie, for the discussion of the budget task force and the statement of district needs.
Thank you. Jesse, I guess we're gonna, well, first I want to thank everyone. This is my last budget I'm gonna do after 2 years, and it is quite a learning experience. It was really wonderful. And thank you, Jess, for kind of at the beginning ushering me through it. And you learn a lot, and it is a really, really welcome position. And Jesse, if you guys don't know, if Jesse's not at your meeting, as we found out last time, you're really in trouble. But Jesse really was extremely helpful and still is, and we're still editing. But I want to start off a little bit, and then we can dive into 3 things. We'll dive into the narratives, which are the main narratives going down with the bullet points, then we can, if you want, we can dive into each separate narrative that precedes each section. But I do want to give a little bit of an overview. The narrative changed slightly. This year, we dropped COVID down a little bit because we thought it wasn't as prominent. It wasn't in the last few years. We definitely concentrated more on the migrant population, not just because of the obvious, but because it really hits upon a lot of our asks, you know, housing, social services, education. So we really want to highlight that. And we also injected the e-bikes and the cannabis shops, because that's kind of been, I don't want to say monopolizing a lot of the community board conversation, but definitely top of mind. So what we did, as we do every year, is we combine the concerns relayed to us in the district-wide survey, and I know Jesse put that in the Dropbox and also sent it out. And also what we've been hearing throughout committees throughout the year, and that really guided our narrative. So the public survey first, I guess it seemed to mimic, we were a little surprised because it seemed to mimic last year's results. We were talking to ourselves a little bit before the survey came out, and we said, you know, maybe public safety will go down a bit, you know, maybe something else will come up, but it seems that far and away, public safety is still the #1 concern, at least reflected in our survey. Affordable housing was up there as #2, and then #3, quality of life combined with trash services and DSNY, which is again mimics last year. So why don't I go, before we dive in, I want to highlight the wins, because Jesse always like, here's a nice list of wins we can talk about, which is great. I'm going to highlight first organics, because it was a huge surprise, because we have been asking for that. And we always thought it was like a white whale, I think, like it's never gonna happen. They're trying it in other boroughs. Then all of a sudden, these orange bins popped up, and it's actually a quite comprehensive, they're great. Not only that, I don't know if anyone uses the app, obviously if you, it's, you have to, it's the only way to do it. It is amazing. It's really quite comprehensive. Anyway, that's a big win. Funding for a study on the implementation of trash container, that was one. The formerly colored school, #4, that was one. The study for open restaurants, which kind of coincides with how council's moving that along, but we'll count it as a win. And Christine, you can attest to this, the ADA ramps at 34th and Dyer and 42nd and Dyer, and then along with the installation of around 30 audible pedestrian signals, correct? That's, I mean, listen, guys, I'm not saying it's a coincidence, but I was the budget, task force chair when this is all happening. The school sign PS 111, as Jesse joked, they asked for family shelters, and we got 2. When we asked for 1, we got 2 family shelters. And just to give a little more reference on that, is because we were, to go back in time a little bit, we were getting a lot of single men shelters, and some of our family shelters were getting displaced. So we asked just to be balanced on that, and we did get that. And then it wasn't specific to one of our asks, but we're counting Bayview as a win as well. Yeah, so
That's a big win.
yeah,
Yes.
it is a huge win as we move forward. If you, before we get to the narrative, because I'm sure you guys, or most of you guys, looked at the lists. I think at our budget task force meeting, the members there decided to kind of go top heavy on our HHHS asks, a lot of the housing, a lot of the social human services, social services, and the housing, and that's reflected in both our capital and our expense list, as you'll see, which we can discuss. And before we get into it again, I just want to offer, there's a few amendments that we are polishing and receiving additional material. Some of the ACEs asks, Alan, we're gonna more detail description of the cannabis asks. Jesse Greenwald was helping with. We're gonna add those, and adding a little bit of the e-bike enforcement ask in the public safety narrative. So anyway, I guess we can, you guys received this. So this is in the statement of district needs. We start off with, the census numbers and the boundaries of the district. And then we go right off into our overview of the community district. which is in your Dropbox. And then I'm gonna go down here, Jimmy, as Jeffrey says, change tabs. The overview of the community district. So this is where we put migrant crisis and neighborhood effects of that. As a on the ground current issue, illegal cannabis shops and on the ground current issue, e-bikes and moped use. And then we dropped COVID down all the way to the bottom of that, but we still thought that it might be good to mention, which we can discuss. And then we go to the longer narrative of the community district trends. And this is where we get a little deeper into the housing. We get a little deeper, or a little more descriptive, I should say, into the street crime, or at least public safety concerns. Some environment and air quality concerns. And then the bullet points of our priorities. Now, just to remind you, this is all reflective. Everything that's in this narrative is reflective of what we listed in the priority lists. So I don't know if anyone, I would love to open up, anyone have any questions or comments or edits or suggestions, and I'll write them all down and we can, go ahead, Christine.
Yeah, in the first section, when you show your top three, I really think it would be helpful to have something about, housing and affordable housing and homelessness, especially because after that, all the asks are really lined up like that. So to me, this is really, we have the migrants, but the homelessness and the affordable housing and the homelessness are things that maybe should be in the first section.
Yes,
One of the three.
I talked about that with Jesse, and if you go down, we have top 3 pressing issues overall, which is what we always do. And the top is affordable housing, number 1. Number 2, crime and public safety. Number 3, trash removal, cleanliness, quality of life. I can change it, if those are the top 3, affordable housing is number 1.
It's just an issue of perception, isn't it? And the first things we talk about.
We can always do it. It's not customary, but we can always change it. That's fine. So what the top is, that has always been kind of on the ground current changes. Like what has changed? What is going on right now? What are we seeing? And that changes from year to year. Like, I think once it was open restaurant, it changes of what the time is. But we can, the more, and Jeffrey talked about this with me. We talked about this on the previous to the meeting. We can definitely put affordable housing in there. There's no.
But you're right, that's not a change.
It's not a change, right? That's the top issue overall.
I think we could do this, sorry to break saying your hands up, but I think we can just do that with an additional line that says like, in addition to our longstanding commitments, 1, 2, 3, housing, sanitation, whatever they are, we want to call attention to these 3 emergent trends.
That'd be good.
And then we go into.
In that top, I mean, the
But
overview of the
line
Yes,
18,
right after the overview.
Line 18 would just be like
like a
sentence.
subtitle.
a quick sentence
Let's do
that provides that framing, introduces these 3 things, and then you go back to those 3 other things later on.
Yeah, why don't we do, okay, is that good, Jeffrey? Is that-
Keep
Well, no,
going,
because you-
but Bert?
Yeah, looking, I know overview of the community district, you have that in person. But to me, the real overview is what you call trends. To me, it's not trends. It's actually a description of who we are. That we're one of the fastest growing community districts in the city. Okay, 27% population increase. You can count that on less than one hand. I mean, no.
Plus the migrants.
I'm not talking, this is.
No,
these are
I'm
people-
just kidding.
These are people counted in the
Census.
census, no census, whatever they want to call it. So this is, and then our district is always has a conflict, not a conflict. It is who we are geographically. We are a residential district, a neighborhood district, and we also support citywide and regional functions.
Right.
Which is, and these are some of the major projects, the rebuilding of the bus station, the transportation, the theater district. These are not just the Hell's Kitchen, Chelsea, and whoever else we want to call the neighborhood people, Hudson Yards. But this is regional activities. So we always have this land use conflict, but this is who we are. And I think in some ways, to me, this should be the right up front rather than, describe the flower district here, you know, that's also kind of who we are, but this is more important in terms of population increase. And then, you know, we can throw in other stuff,
Like the boundaries or
the other stuff,
Okay.
you know, start out with this, and then we talk about from there, you go on to the rezoning, housing, growth of housing, lack of affordable housing, and then we can talk, you know, and in addition to this, or whatever, however, whatever language you want to use, then you work your way into, there's currently a migrant crisis, illegal cannabis shops, but to me, I mean, those are important,
So Jesse, can you go
but not
up a
right
bit?
up front.
I think it's down, I'm sorry, down a bit, where we're saying community district for trends.
Yeah, it's page 3.
Yep.
I think I go up. That, so you're saying flip it, put that up.
Yeah, that's,
put that up
we
top,
don't want
that's-
trends, that's who we are
Okay,
in some ways.
I would just, again, I think this document is made for many people.
yeah, it's a
One of the
template.
things for, hopefully for people who've never, doesn't know us from anybody, and so I do think we can keep that introductory paragraph, similar to like our webpage has that first paragraph. But then if you want to put the trends
That's the second.
after that,
Before the listing of the,
then move to the kind of the newer items, like, which I think maybe makes sense with what Jessica's recommendation is, that you start off with those trends, and then you can talk about, but these are the newer, these are the emerging issues, so. But I wouldn't lose that first paragraph, just because it does give us, it sets the boundaries of who we are.
Bert, is that okay? You don't,
To me, this is just a list.
I think it's, you know what it is, I think it's just,
Forever.
I think
We
it's,
have used that forever.
yeah, it's
After you,
We have used that forever. As a.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it has been like, but I think the change you are proposing is really good.
Roberta?
So we came up with in the task force meeting, and then I'm also kind of seeing it as a fill in the blank thing here, but I think there was interest in seeing if there was any data on the, like, asylum seeker, I guess, flow into the district and utility of various resources. Not in a sort of negative way, but in order to bolster the claim that the
numbers that.
We were told that there are 40 buses a week arrival still at
So if you
Dormitory.
see, if you see where it says migrant crisis, if you see it under thing, it's in red. The stuff is in red is, we have to check on numbers, we're not gonna throw it, so what we have is X, I have X number of buses. And has been the home for one intake center, blah, 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 that's in red, and just because Jesse and I have to double check, you're right.
As long as it
It's
exists and we can add it, I
Yeah.
think, great.
Yeah,
if we can't do hard numbers,
yeah,
right, Jesse, we can always do how many intake centers, we know how many multi-service centers there are, we know how many.
we'll see what we can get. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, as we all know that the city, literally, there's 3 different agencies working on this issue.
So maybe,
So I would love to tell you that they're all coordinated, produce a piece of paper that will tell us exactly what we're looking for. But we do have the Port Authority who does count buses. And we can definitely count, we know the number of temporary hotel shelters with the bed counts. So I mean, we can try to figure some data out on that.
To tack on, just quickly to tack on that, I think the number for the weed shops looked low to me.
I
And
changed
know,
it,
okay, great.
to 50, like, it said 30 for some reason.
Well, also
We have
it's
to-
only between, like, maybe it was the number. Over there. I don't know, even 50 seems low to me, we have like 6 on my block.
So we noticed we were working off, Jesse, we can do that, because I was working off the map. Like there's the Joe Future map, there's Jesse might have it, the green wall, but there's a map that's actually out there
Yeah.
identifying.
Yeah, I can send that. I can look again and look at a better number. But
That's
50 sounds closer to correct than 30 for sure, so.
It's also in red, Jessica, as a to check.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
all that data is helpful.
You're right, because it had 30, and that was curious to me too.
Marty DeCant has his.
Marty?
Mine is also a data comment. When I read through page 3, two items jumped out at me, and if you can't do it this year, what I'm going to suggest might be good for as we move through other years. Population has grown on the second line, and on line 28, a dramatic jump in street crime. I thought both of those screamed for a table, so that we could see the trend over years. And there may be other stuff in there with the data that you were just talking about. If you have it, putting it in a table will make this document a whole lot easier to read and give it more authority.
This, at the end of the day, Marty, first of all, visuals, I think that's a good idea, though. This is sort of dictated by city planning's template for every district's statement of district needs. So I don't know that we could come up with a graph to then have, because we have to go into the system and then upload all of this, and it's sort of like a form that you fill out in that way. So I don't know that we could insert a graphic.
I don't know if we
show
can
that
do a
graph.
graphic, Marty, but I'm certainly, we can look into seeing if we can provide.
I didn't hear that.
More data.
That's right. If you can't put in a table where it says population of NCB4 has grown over 27%, if you were to say in a parenthesis 2020, 2021, 2000, and so on, it wouldn't be a graphic, but you'd have the numbers there, and people could say, oh, it really has grown. And I would say the same thing with street crime. I know they have it over time, and that the data shouldn't be that hard to get. I understand the complication of trying to put it in here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marty. Paul?
Can I ask on beyond pages 6 and 7, just some edits, are we to that point?
No, we're not even Ken.
I'm running at it.
I'm fine with it.
Why not? Yeah,
Let's get it all done.
Let's
Just
go
on
with it.
page 6, it's a summary of community distribution budget requests. It seems like we already have a summary above that, so maybe change that wording to
That
additional priorities or something like that.
That's template.
That's
Yeah.
okay. And then same thing with on page 7, public safety and emergency services. Is that title public safety? You say public safety. You have a public safety section.
Oh, that's what I want to explain. So this is, just so you guys know, this is, I don't want to say out of order, it's in order. But so these are, we just wanted to put them up there for your edification. These are the paragraphs that precede the actual asks. So this is not the actual, so it's gonna be exactly like, so it's gonna say public safety emergency services, and then below it is a table of all of our asks.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then transportation is gonna be the intro, all of the transportation. So yes, this is just for.
I see.
for
Okay.
edit
Thanks for the
purposes.
clarification.
Yes, sorry about that.
Katie?
This is actually going back up and going backwards for Paul, but just a suggestion, like. You said that we're sort of reducing our references to COVID-19, which I think makes sense, but then that actually is too much quite a bit. And for example, the whole paragraph on, I guess it's on page 2 entitled COVID-19. You're talking about a lot of important things. And I actually think we should have a different paragraph heading for it. It's not about COVID-19. It's about, you know, the fact that we have open drug use, shoplifting, rats, numbers going better. I just think there has to be, I don't know if we call it, you know, rise in quality of life concern, or just call it whatever it is, but not title it COVID-19.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And just,
Just go quality of life straight away and just.
Environmental issues.
And connect that, I would say, to the shift in population. So people used to go into the office 5 days a week. I think a lot of that and the areas of concern relate to there just being a different set of people and fewer, less foot traffic going through the, you used to have the eyes in the street. I think they're not there anymore. Something different is replacing them.
but anyway, yeah, it makes it more current for not referring to COVID.
So do we feel comfortable with taking away COVID-19 then altogether?
I think the title can change.
Right.
Yeah, and I think maybe just a little bit less emphasis, and okay, we actually have quite a few references in here to COVID-19, maybe just a couple more, but. Because I think the issues are important enough without.
I think they're now just issues.
Yeah.
They are with us in that regard.
It's not an excuse anymore.
Right,
It's not a,
exactly.
right,
So
right.
I think Leslie, like literally,
Yeah.
you started this one, you know, with the second line, which is an increase in open drug use, street homelessness, shoplifting, rats, overflowing litter baskets. relate to policy changes and budget cuts, blah, 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 right? We don't have to start it.
Got it,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
got it.
I just wanted to add, I think that one of the things I had mentioned to Leslie about the framing, which we kind of reframed it through this discussion, so that was excellent. Is I also wanted to make sure that sort of we don't just respond to the issues on the ground, but like there are always bigger policy goals at play, like very specifically, I think referencing our affordable housing plan early, I mean, that is a document, right? This is real, and other sort of policy things that we have advocated for that are not just a response to the day, but our response to every day. We hosted the first pilot for containerized residential traffic on 45th Street. So like literally advocating for sanitation policy before it's even considered anywhere else. You know, all of our pedestrian safety stuff comes before the city implements it anywhere else. So I guess it was more of a, and I think we're doing that, but I think to make sure that it's those big things that are our lead, so that it's not lost in what's happening in the moment. Which I think we've done, but I would like to add a couple of those, like very specific housing plan. We've been leading on. These topics.
One or two sentences.
So that's what, isn't that Jessica, what Jessica, that's what Jessica was saying.
Part of what Jessica.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna put it like.
I think it's adding a bit more than what Jessica had sort
Yeah, I
of
was
said
saying,
there.
I was responding, I think we can do it.
Yeah,
It wasn't what I was proposing necessarily, but I think we can make it work. We're happy to like bounce some like
Yeah. Like a subtitle, and then a little more than that. I mean, we have our most used related documents. The affordable housing plan, again, is always, you know, footnoted. The sanitation planning working group, and we added Jesse Greenwald's cannabis licensing and public health letter to this one. Because that's a good reference.
I think Jeffrey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Jeffrey pointed, I think other folks pointed out, I just remember the document is a statement of district being, right? So that is why you historically have always just, said, like, here's all our issues. That is the goal. So I think it's a valid point, and I think we've got a lot of good, we've done a lot of good work at us to remember the point of it is to basically.
Ask for, yes, it's for asks,
It's for asks.
specific asks and budget asks, not.
Please double check that those links work. I tried
Yeah,
one
I-
and it did not.
I will, Mark, I will. I didn't listen to the document right now because they were doubled over, so it was hard to read them, so I will make sure that they work.
And just so everyone knows, there's a lot of spacing issues in this, I mean, we will.
There's an entirely new format.
Yes.
As Leslie's learned and Alan learned, they said it in the meeting, DCP about this, they're rolling out an entirely new way of doing this, and so. which is hopefully good.
Any other questions?
Formats rather than do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep them busy.
Anybody in the, no one hands up, okay.
Should we
Do
go
you
to our-
wanna go to?
this, I think we're gonna do, Jesse, would you say capital?
You want to capital first?
Why don't we? So you'll see, in capital, actually both capital and expense is, as I said, it's housing and social services top heavy. It's what the budget task force thought we should concentrate on, considering our trends this year. We start.
You guys have already-
You know, this.
It's not.
I think you guys were in social services and affordable housing heavy, yes, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go to my list.
I think we doubled down on that this year, saying, hey, if. The migrants and all that stuff, it's all come down to affordable housing, so if we.
And I think we've had a Harborview elevator ask for 10 years.
So there's a note there, we have to check with Maria and Joe, remember we said, Jesse, we were gonna check with that with Maria and Joe and with the
But that's still-
asks.
That's still.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not doing anything with Harborview because
Of the development.
they want, yeah, exactly.
Well, they want to let it fall apart.
Well, they want to develop, and especially now with Chelsea NYCHA happening,
Yeah, they
they're
wanna,
waiting for that to happen, so then they can say, okay, let's do that.
here,
There was supposed to be 100% affordable housing development on the site, and then Yeah, and then Glasgow switched it to 80-20, and that died, and so we're left with terrible elevators. And hard to use.
But didn't Hubbard, you just.
You're right.
Yeah, nice painted.
That's great.
If you want, we can go through just the top 10 or 12, and we can go quickly, if everyone is fine with it. Is it fine?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
Katie?
Yeah, I had like a specific question. but
Yeah, go ahead.
Or do you want to go through it?
we can go through the first 12. I can read off first 12 real quick, and then we can go from there. So, Jesse, can you get, I'm just gonna, I have it here, but just in case. It's going to be Hartley House, yeah, and that's a familiar ask, right? Oh, thank you. Then, of course, the multifamily preservation loan, that's the program, that's been our top ones for a while. The new one there is provide funding for Ryan Chelsea Clinton Health Center for an ultrasound. And I guess some people might think, why would that be number 3 when we have other, but we just thought it might be gettable. It kind of goes along with what we're asking for as far as our population
It
now.
also said it was specifically for new migrants.
Migrants, yeah, our population, exactly.
Do we have a letter about that?
Yes, there's a letter coming out of housing this month. They presented.
They presented at the meeting,
They
at
presented
the
at-
hotel trades. I don't think you were there.
If you can scroll, Jesse, thank you. Elevators again, the cruise ship terminal, which we think we're getting it in 2028. We're gonna push on that because that actually might be doable sooner.
Was there an agreement? that just-
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a real signed agreement?
So what happened was EDC has changed their points of agreement, not change, edit, or their points of agreement with the 3 major cruise ships. And it's actually, there's gonna be a few interesting things, so they are going to work towards shore power by 2028. There are 3 slips right now at Manhattan Cruise Ship Terminal. WPE did a tour there a few weeks ago, and Ports of America was there, which was great, by the way. And they are going to do in the next few months, I think actually by the end of the year, they're gonna start infrastructure improvement to add, or at least be prepared for shore power. So they already are doing it, they're going ahead with it. We have to wait for EDC and to see how they're gonna deal with Con Ed and get it, but yes. So we thought we kind of put the pedal to the metal on that one as well. Then we have Department of Education, this is for security cameras, and I know Alan's and Josephine are gonna get me the specifics, we'll do the specific schools. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed bathrooms right above it, I missed bathrooms right above it, the replaced bathrooms in the schools, then the security cameras, then DeWitt Clinton Park, which has been a very, very long time ask. And then if you go down a little more. Oh, that's the subway grades that we switched, remember, Christine, because it was an expense first, we put it in capital. And then the Columbus Library. And rounded out public bathrooms, which has been a big ask, and that's been on our list for a while too. So a lot of these have been on our list for a while. And the task force just kind of injected a few new ones.
Did the Muhlenberg branch get a new roof yet?
No, they want.
That's another decade.
They're doing elevators.
No, they renovate.
Don't know what.
I don't think-
But
But
they,
they get it. Yeah, the
No, but
funding,
they keep asking different things.
no, right, so the libraries is put in all of their requests into the Columbus branches here.
Oh,
They
okay.
specifically asked us to
To
request
focus on
6
Columbus.
million.
Okay.
So they let that go.
Is it up there?
Yeah, it's number 11. No, it's there. That's what triggered the Muhlenberg HVAC and roof fiascos. So
so that's it. And if anyone has any.
thank you for
Everything's
that.
Pretty much in
on
the
this list.
same, there was no crazy jumps or back from last year.
I don't see any hands.
No, we can go to expense.
Yeah.
So, but, sorry, actually, a quick question.
Katie?
It also may have everything to do with my eyesight and bad memory, but, were any of those specific about, affordable housing or migrants?
Yeah.
Yes.
For school.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Harley House is supportive housing.
And also remember it's capital. So a lot of that, like you're gonna see expense is gonna be a lot of the capitals, like, you know, more brick and mortar, like things you can. Like an ultrasound machine is a capital expense.
So none of this is about migrants right now, but you're saying that'll be, okay.
No,
Well-
it is, I mean. It,
Any affordable housing
There's-
construction is good
Right.
for migrants and is good for everybody, right?
and the specific, I mean, maybe if you want to put language into number 3 that specifically
Yeah,
acknowledges that due to the Ryan's request was about that, so that is certainly about the migrant.
that's what Jessica said before about the ultrasound, it's specific, I think Jessica said it. Specifically about the ultrasound, because that's their population now that they're.
And I think we should have a language in there, I mean, I think
We can have that.
our person's for something, but.
All right.
Cool, thanks.
Expense?
You have to make it
Yeah, it's
a little bit
Yeah, so-
bigger. Yeah.
Okay, so same here as far as the line of thinking. Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you guys this, and I mentioned this in the budget task force email, I think. So our first ask is the same first ask as it's been. It is expand street outreach for, and we'll take the code, you know, we'll go through the COVID stuff again. We'll go through it with a fine tooth comb. For homeless outreach services. Now, I don't know what you guys think. Last year, we put this as our first ask, and I think the year before, but I'm not sure. Last year, definitely. They came back saying this is funded. We are funding your request. Yes, we have more homeless outreach. So I don't know how you guys want to, you know, approach, because we keep asking for the same thing and they keep saying that, yes, we're funding you.
Yeah, but
So,
this was, you guys dealt with this last year, you guys
Yeah.
changed the language, if you remember. The
Yeah.
ending here is acknowledging that they put more money into it. We're not insane, we understand that they put more money. into
we
it,
want
but-
even,
But we said we think it needs further.
Even
But the
more.
question is that, can you ask for a specific item, which is
Yeah, yes.
quantifiable? Like,
exactly.
we want another 10 people which are outreaching. That's,
Yeah, I mean, but I
Yes.
don't have that, I don't know what that, I don't have the specific data point to give you to say.
well, I'm just.
Yeah, if we can, the more specific we are.
Yes.
I think we should,
Last
I
time
think,
we
I
did-
think percentage, I think you say
Yes.
10%.
Or even, as you say, increase staff levels as the last 3 words, you know, like. Further expansion of funds necessary to increase staffing levels.
Why 10?
I don't know, we should go
Something
higher, I
like
think we
that.
should say like 50%.
I'm just saying it gives you a number that you're working on.
I would say 50 because we're not.
Wasn't there a quote from the head of the transit, New York City Transit, like 2 days ago? About
Yeah.
increasing homeless services?
MTA absolutely made that call as well.
Yes.
But I
They
think
didn't
the
have
two
it-
key factors here is that we should, we changed the language last year to make sure it was different, so let's do it, make some more tweaking this year, so we'll drop the reference to COVID, because I
Yeah.
think frankly, it's just, there is an increase in street homelessness, and we no longer need to attribute it to something that happened a couple of years ago, and then
I think you
tying
can,
it to a number.
I think you could say that, you know, in spite of the increase, we still have,
The problem
Major problem.
persists.
and therefore we want X% more than what they spent last year.
I was gonna say, yeah, I would compare it to you, I think.
Because we are not there and it's not
Yeah,
happening.
I think that's also, but I would be concerned by just saying increase staff by 10%, like, if they're understaffed, then just by hiring to
The
like,
baseline.
to a baseline might not get, even though it would be more, it might not get us what we
Right.
want.
But that can be
We might-
right too,
we might
because
say
they are
something
cutting,
about-
they are cutting all the budget across the board.
We
right?
might
So,
say, yes,
Sure.
something about, you know, they've increased the funding and it still is not sufficient. Because we got problems that exist and it's getting worse. So that way we don't, we're not asking for a percentage.
I mean, it's not getting worse, is it?
Jessica?
Just, do we have enough language in here that reflects, Chrissy just brought up that the mayor has said that we should be prepared for cuts in the city budget? Like, do we have enough language sprinkled throughout to say, don't, like, this must be, even in this environment of anticipated cuts? I know when, in 2020,
Yeah.
when we were anticipating a massive shortfall because of the beginning of COVID, we like had a lot of that kind of looking ahead towards that, like.
Eager for that pay,
Well, he's saying across the board,
15%,
5%.
15.
It's a 15 in each agency.
Right, so like, are there some that we're saying like, absolutely not?
Yeah, and those are good examples.
Negative.
Absolutely not.
Or should we
I
say
don't
that
think
we
you
don't,
have that in there, right?
no, we don't, but should we say that we don't agree with the across the board cut? It should be, I think, Christina.
I don't think they even.
Specific.
We don't need cuts.
Well,
We have the money. That's another discussion.
Yes.
yeah, that's a- yeah.
So I don't wanna.
That's our next test.
On topic of so. Changing the language to sort of account for some defense of objection to any potential cuts. And that in fact, we need to see an increase in service, removal of COVID.
So we can say in preparation of said cuts, because I don't want to say.
I don't think we want to be that, we don't want to give it to them. I
That's it.
don't think we want to give
I
it.
think that we have to be a little real. I mean, we can't.
Possible anticipated. It's not gonna get the cut.
Hold on, Christine and then Alan.
Right? I think we need to say that first item is so critical that we cannot tolerate any cuts.
This
And as a
is-
matter of fact, we want an increase.
Right.
On this
Alan?
one.
Yes,
Not set cuts, it means we're gonna put something in possible.
Anticipated,
or
okay.
something.
Proposed.
Proposed. That's better.
Katie?
Very caring.
We're asking for expanding street outreach. But often one of the main goals of street outreach is to bring them in off the streets, right? So, and obviously we know one of the issues is that there aren't enough safe havens or shelters, you know what I mean? So I actually think we just have to be alert to the fact that when we're saying we want you to expand street outreach, we're also saying, and we want you to find more shelter, yeah, or safe havens or whatever.
Well, I think,
But if we say we need more shelters, they're going to put it in our.
Exactly, and that's just one of the things that we need to be alert to. Yeah, so I think it's great that we're saying expand street outreach, but we have to understand sort of what that means.
Roberta?
Just taking that just one step further, I think that Katie raises a very good point, but I think at least the goal of the board would like largely be to get people out of the shelters. They cannot get out of shelters because there's no affordable housing. The only way that we are building affordable housing or getting affordable housing, aside from the potential hope someday of harassment cures, is to preserve it and then to build more. And so if we can make that, I'm happy that we're going to some language to make that connection, but it's not that we need more shelters, we need to get people out of the shelters.
Can I just to get us back on point, we're at budget request level.
Yeah.
But you're trying to connect budget requests in a policy.
Yeah,
And
don't-
this is gonna go to Department of Homeless Services, is gonna look at it.
correct.
And then what you're talking about is Department of, Housing Preservation Development, and then you're talking about DHS. So I just, I just want us to recognize, I don't think we should be doing it in here. And I just think in terms of responding to cuts, that's preliminary, it's usually the response to the
Preliminary
budget,
budget.
which is early next year. So I think that's when we want to get
Save that
into
language.
cuts
Yeah.
and things like that. If we want to make some statement at the beginning of this about what we know is happening currently, but remember, we're talking about fiscal year 25, which we don't know yet about what they're gonna do yet. I think it's my knowledge.
Jesse, can I just ask a question from the past, but is it true that the more specific I think it's like, should we be saying expand street outreach, or should we be saying like expand the street outreach program of X program? Like, I don't, how specific is it? to
Sure,
make it
if you want to
more-
list, you want to say, I think it's important to say increase it from last year. I think that's a good, just a way of saying increase staffing from last year's budget. And if you want to list, the three major organizations that we know do street outreach in our neighborhood, right, which is Breaking Ground, Goddard, And then I would say, BRC does all of the subways. So I think if you want to list those three and say, that's where the funding should go, because it's more specific.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk to Maria, Maria's here, so
Yeah.
she's the chair, if that's okay with your ask.
So.
So wait, what is
I would
Maria
to
saying?
get to the end of
Yeah.
number one. Maria, sorry, go ahead.
I mean,
We had the 3 hours.
well, it's your ask, I want to
It's
defer to that.
everything that we said, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I heard Katie's question, I heard his answer, I mean, I would go with what he said, it makes.
So you're saying just be more, just like list the 3 organizations that do it in our area, so be specific.
And then say that we want, I think it's a solid way of doing the data without knowing it all specifically,
Right.
saying that we want an increase from staffing from last year to this year.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
But to your answer, it's always better, we were talking about this today, so remember, it's always better to be specific. I mean, I told Christine, I mean, she's very specific on her ask, so like, no, in a good, like the northwest corner, like get
Yeah,
this.
but that's the thing is that if they say, they can't say, then they can't answer
Yes.
like, it will be funded.
Yes.
To say,
That's
this
right.
corner is going to be funded, or
Uh-huh.
not? Right,
Yes.
and now we get.
So we did the same with security, we were talking about this, we're security, we want that school, which school?
I have a question, every time we are super specific, it has been helpful.
More than
Yeah.
just.
More
general.
of-
Yes, very.
Yes, because when they
Very.
respond, you really know what it is, they're going to say, no, we're not doing this one, and yes, we're doing that one.
So we should make every ask.
Yes. Yes.
We're still on number one, but I think we've summarized what it needs to be, and this is the committee reviewing work. Leslie, are you comfortable with where we're at, based on what the room has said, on
100%,
what to
yeah.
redo for number one?
I defer, listen, with the asks, it's all the chair, right?
No, but I mean, are you comfortable reworking it, based on
Oh,
what's
like
been
the
said?
physical work, you mean? Yes.
Yeah, okay.
of course.
Just to understand what's been said, I mean.
Yes.
So we are settled on
One.
number one.
So if,
No, no, man.
as you go down, you'll see the, oh, that is, no, I think Jesse,
You have something?
yeah, no, Jesse, there's a, oh, there it is, there it is.
No, that's it.
Okay, so that's the same spot as it was last year. The NYPD, this was the language actually that came out of your task force.
Okay.
About the foot patrol and the,
But could we be more specific on that, about the foot patrol, how many more do we want, because we never see them, right?
I think we want to, there's
We
zero.
never see
Yeah.
them, I mean, I saw them in 2 days. 2 days, this is, I mean, what the heck are they doing?
So this, just to remind everyone, this, I believe, Jesse, the reply was, because it goes to NYPD, they're like, we agree with this request. They're not giving us the funds for this request, so that was the reply. It wasn't like, no, sorry, we don't agree, NYPD's like, sure, we would love to do it.
But I mean, they is not proper, because each agency decide whether they are going to unfund something and fund the other one. So saying the other guy is not giving me the money is a little bit of a BS.
So how would you suggest the wording?
I think it's an acknowledgement of the significant resources the NYPD has at its disposal.
Yeah.
And that accordingly, they should be directing resources to foot
This.
patrol in the, in Midtown South Precinct 8th Avenue Crime Reduction Program corridor. I think we should,
And we
once
should-
again, because it puts them in the corner to not be able to have them say, we agree, but, right? Like we actually are telling them, you have resources, this is where they should be
Don't ask for
applied.
the resources to do, I mean, this is.
Yeah.
This
Not
is also
good.
a data issue. Do we have the data as to how many police patrol we have? I don't think we do we? The cops do, but we don't.
Yeah, we don't see them.
I mean, we can.
I mean, it would be better to say you've got 30 police on the streets Monday through Friday. We need 50.
I think that's what Jeffrey said about the corridor.
I think.
It's like 8th Avenue, they were supposed to have,
Yes.
what, 2 making, I mean, you guys know, right? What they were supposed to do, I don't know the details.
Jesse, who would make that like, at this, like, how do we make that determination of you know what I mean? Like which segment, how do we get that if we want to?
Well, I think there was an issue of the corridor of 8th Avenue, right? From 34 to, I don't know, 47. And, you know,
There was also the request about having foot patrol more near the schools and.
Yes, it's a.
Drop.
I
Yeah, I
think
mean, I
one
saw-
one of our committees should be really taking that up
Yeah.
and making putting together some numbers.
Details, that's a good, yeah. And we talked about in the past, right, we need to focus on that, but we can look at this language and just try
Okay,
to.
well, just so you know, someone also mentioned it at our WPE meeting about around parks as well, because a lot of stuff is going on in parks at night. And then,
But you have stuff in your parks request.
yeah, it's PEPs though, I mean, it's, you know, parks enforcement is a little different than NYPD coming and, you know, doing criminal activity.
So is anybody proposing specific changes to description in item 2?
Katie said she can provide some stuff, language. We can talk.
Okay,
I say that's so great.
Number 2.
Okay,
Number 3, this is where we go back to the housing, and this is about ensure the landlords do not allow their properties to deteriorate. This is kind of what we've been talking about, we popped this up there. This is what Roberta, you were just talking about the landlords. Number 4 is the new cannabis ask. So the cannabis task force suggested 2 asks. And I think they're in the top 12, right, Jesse? The first one is about just a coordination, as you see, between city and state for enforcement. And the other one, which is down a little more, is an education campaign, because there is a feeling, a knowledge that just the regular public doesn't know that their corner cannabis shop is actually illegal. I think that's an ask down.
my concern is cannabis is a state
Yeah,
that's regulated by the state, not the city. So who is this ask going? What agency in the city of New York is this ask going?
Period.
That's
That's state,
not.
again, not the state entity.
So we have to talk.
So the issue is this, like, we send this and they go, oh, no.
I think.
Can we just go to Jesse, because.
Hi. So Jeffrey, I completely agree. It's a state issue, which is why I think our asks are relatively narrow. But you're right, we can make it more pointed about which agency it would go to in the city, and that I believe would be the Small Business Services Administration. That's where the cannabis czar sits. So we can update it for that purpose.
But isn't this about, to a large extent, enforcement of illegal operators?
yeah.
That's what.
Yeah, which
I
is
think-
primarily a state issue, but
Right,
at the
but
same time,
SBS is designed to support the legal cannabis operator, which is good. I think at the end of the day, also, we know that NYPD is choosing to not enforce certain laws on the books, so this does seem like an NYPD direction.
well, I mean, it seems sure, but if the message from the DA is we're not doing this, then it's not even an NYPD issue. I mean, but basically all the agencies are saying this is a state issue. So to the extent we're asking for additional coordination between state and the city, you know, I'm not sure the mayor's office, I mean, like the mayor's office would be the correct.
I agree completely. The issue is that this doesn't belong in our statement of district, in our New York City statement of district needs for the community board.
Well, I think it does in the sense that we are.
But who does it go to?
No, but wait, we have the problem, right?
Mhm.
So we have the problem of how is it getting enforced in our street? And the question is, we need to design a protocol where the city and what Jess is asking is designing a protocol where the city and, you know, for example, NYPD could say, hey, I've seen 5 of them and send an email to the state. Here are the 5, or something like that. I don't know how to do it, but it's a sense of.
Alan and then Katie.
Maybe put in a narrative. Something about enforcement.
But nobody.
It is.
Well, then why do you?
Thanks, Christine.
Hold on, Katie and then Paul.
Council just passed something about it, you know.
And then Lori.
Sorry, guys, I can't hear. Thank you.
Katie.
Didn't the city council just pass something about that fines can be levied on the landlords who are allowed
Yes,
to,
yes.
right? So
Yeah.
couldn't we have this, who is it? Yeah, DOB, right? Like saying we think that there should be money allocated or something to DOB, to enforce this new law that's been passed.
Paul?
No, I'm gonna withdraw. Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay.
Because it was cities, he says there's state city cannabis coordinator. Who does the state city?
I mean, is there a mayor's office of special enforcement consideration also, right? Like they're the entity that does the hotels. So I don't know that they have a budget line for this specific stuff. But I think to give this teeth, it needs an agency,
But I think the landlord issue is a good idea.
and DOB makes sense.
Yes.
Greenlaw, what do you think?
No, I think I like that. I like that. Sorry, I'm just trying to confirm that that's the right agency. I'm just doing my Googling, but I agree that it should be more pointed and it needs to be a line item in someone's budget. So,
I think if it goes to, I'm gonna throw the wrench, I think if it goes to DOB, I think it gets lost, I think that gets lost in the DOB shop. I think DOB is gonna say, wait, what, a cannabis ask for lamb, I think they're gonna.
Well, but if they're given, I don't know how to do the legislation is, I think Jesse's literally doing it right now.
Yeah,
I mean, if they're given the responsibility to enforce, then.
no, for landlords though, not to enforce. Yeah, landlords.
Yeah, well, that's what I said, they're responsible for doing they're the ones that are actually writing the violation. Then I think that's a clear, we want that division of DOB to be funded or expanded or however.
And then the description changes from although we acknowledge it's state blah, 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 we say, well, new legislation that says
Yeah,
DOB is
definitely.
responsible.
Why don't we figure out what legislation, which agency is empowered through this new legislation? And that is the agency that this budget item is directed to.
Do you have that, Jesse?
Well, we
yeah,
can
no,
work off-
I agree with that. I'm just really, it's weird that I don't know this, nor can I find it, which agents, I mean, like,
We'll
it's
find it.
possible to
We'll
draft
find it, we'll find it, yeah.
We'll find it.
Yeah, definitely,
You know who might
Okay.
know it?
Oh,
Let's find out if Jordan Finer knows it.
No, report Justin. Let them know that you're calling on it first. Long time, but as he said, it's
Jordan, raise your hand if you're listening. You have. It's right after legislation. Yeah. Okay. moving on.
It's fine, he didn't say he doesn't know, I'd say that. Let's get times at meetings.
so number 5 is going with the NYCHA elevator.
What do you gotta say, Jordan?
Hi, everyone. I have nothing specific to say on this. Apologies. My audio is cutting in and out. All I heard was, let's see what Jordan has to say on this. So I'm gonna plead the fifth until I know what I'm being asked.
We'll follow.
Say anything.
Yeah, Jordan, we'll follow up with you, Jordan, don't worry about it. Don't worry.
That sounds perfect to me. Thank you, Jesse. Hey, everybody.
Go back to eating dinner. Then 5, is another housing ask, if we keep going down, Department of Buildings. This is again, about the demolition and exactly preservation and just keeping up with it, keep going down, just, scroll. Yes,
I do think, can I go back to the number 5?
Please.
I just think the language needs to be updated. Bert, you actually were the one who brought a lot of this information to us when we introduced this. If you remember this, we brought up the 2 points that elevators were broken in capital, but the fact was that they weren't being fixed because there wasn't staffing to do it.
Oh,
And so that's why they were married together. We personalized it by talking about Harborview.
right.
So I just think though, I don't know if this language in here is literally from, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So I just, I think the ask is solid. I just don't know if the language,
We can update that.
we can just simplify it and just say. Yeah.
If you would like the cannabis resolution, it says as designated by the mayor, so it is, and it is not yet clear that the mayor has made the designation of which agency is ultimately the
So we can recommend.
civil penalty.
So,
There's
yeah.
a section where I can literally write in anything I want. So it's like it's the mayor's office.
you can text the mayor.
All the ways that.
I can text it, right, yeah.
And also, guys, we can also remember, this is our first time with the cannabis stuff, clean it in our statement of district needs. it's also kind of like a public statement too, you know, we're not like looking for it to be, or we are looking for it to be resolved tomorrow. But as it, you know, next year, it's going to massage its, you know, its way through. So I really think Jesse Greenwald's nodding, so I feel very secure in that statement. So let's keep going. The corner basket, of course, DSNY, is our first, it's our number 7. And then, the dangerous intersections, which are very specific, is number 8. And then, this is the after-school program, which we want to get into the top 10.
That's
Funding
excellent.
for
It's probably expand funding because there is no funding for after-school programs for elementary school. So we're asking
Alright.
them to just fund it, period.
All right, so
Okay,
take that,
great,
we can take out extend. I mean,
Yeah, we could, we'll edit these, yeah.
Can I go back to your
Yeah.
the intersection one? Can we add 57th and 11th to that? Or is this is this from your working list of the committee?
Isn't the 57 and 11 done?
It
Because
is
they
just
did the 11th Avenue.
the
I
bike
think
lane on the west side, but like, I guess. There's
That was
no,
actually-
the issue is that it's 57th Street, it's not necessarily the avenue, right? So it's almost 8th to the river.
Right.
On 57th Street, not the avenues. And I don't want to pollute this, but it's just something that stands out when we think about the ones that are on here. So maybe we just take it out separately, a walk or something, yeah, that's a good idea. Sorry, Leslie.
No.
So we got 8th Avenue done, but, okay.
So we're going down, and this is where the other cannabis ask comes in. And Jesse and we talked offline, and he suggested the educational campaign. There was an initial educational campaign, right, Jesse, from the state? Saying, hey, you know, weed is legal and go to your person, but
It really worked.
it worked though. It worked very well.
And this,
Yes, because I feel like that's the right.
Yes, it's so exactly. So Jesse Greenwald, and if you want to talk Jesse about, because you could probably.
I
as
just
you see, it's an- Go
I
ahead.
just want to quickly say that, again, this is completely a state issue and OCM will have a budget to do additional advertising. But I also think it's the city's responsibility to protect its own residents when the state is falling down. And there would be nothing wrong with having the city run its own campaign in this regard. So I think it's
And Jessica already suggested that, was it Department of Small Business? Something maybe? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we can craft that, Jesse, as you know, the language in there.
Yep.
And then there's our PEPs, there's our park enforcement. And I guess that's it. We moved down the e-bike NYPD
Well, can I
e-bike.
ask you, can we go back to 12? Just because I didn't know, I put it in there, but I didn't understand what it meant. What is a staff of flying,
This is-
flying unit?
This is Christine.
That was the request of the letter we wrote on the e-bikes. We said we need to, you know, educate and put bike routes and blah, 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 and create a unit that is going to be really focused on that.
Enforcement.
So that's what it is.
What is flying unit?
Flying unit is somebody came up with it. It's a unit which goes from district to district.
Oh,
on mobile.
Oh, we need to clarify. That makes it sound
Confusing
like
language.
there's- I thought I literally thought- And then someone said, no, it's a bunch of guys on bikes. I didn't even get very clear.
I thought Brad has girls.
I feel like- Okay, so I think we just need to rework that. So it's, just so I understand, it's PD though.
NYPD.
It's NYPD and it's different, it's just people going, it's a team of NYPD folks going around doing enforcement. Okay, so they're not on bikes and they're not on.
They could be.
I just want to ask if we should specify that they should be on bikes, because in fact, we have a lack of NYPD officers on bikes because the training is not like required, and as new cadets come through,
Yeah.
like that should actually be something, given how much more mobile you can also be on a bike versus a vehicle.
Also, the mayor said he was the bike mayor. right?
So
Well, we
I
should
think there's
say
at least
possibly on bikes. It's not.
I'm not, I just didn't understand. what
I know
it
this is
was.
being recorded, but has anyone seen our NYPD?
for, to get it in the
All
class.
right, so we're gonna reword that, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, are we gonna Okay.
I have a question on the,
And where are my corrals?
I have a question on the PAC priority as it relates to the rest of the
All
parks
top 20, I
items.
kept them in top 20, because
Thank
you
you.
wanted the grades,
Thank you.
so I moved. Yeah, can you scroll down? I'm sorry, Jeffrey, can I just
And you
look
want
at the,
to,
What number are we talking about?
hold on, I don't know, I'm looking.
That's okay, I'll check on you.
Here, 17.
Oh, okay, good.
and you want 11, Jeffrey?
I was gonna ask about number
There it
11.
is, by corrals.
So I guess we are sort of considering PAC as a greater priority than like park maintenance.
It wasn't in WPE. WPE had park staff
That,
as number one. But then the budget task force thought to go with, to flip that, PEPS was second. To go with the, I guess, the narrative and the public safety and for PEPS number one. Yeah. But we can flip that back.
No, I guess I'm just like, we are chronically parks is understaffed, right? Like at all levels, not just sort of PEP. So I don't know what gives us we're probably more likely.
With the
to
budget
have
task force,
officers than,
can we flip that back to the
than
original?
versus- you justified it for me. I just wanted to call out the fact that usually we do have the staff factor, so that's fine. I'm comfortable with that. Any other questions, Jesse?
I just perceive at a full board level, we have the migrant crisis. Now that I know we're shifting it down in terms of just where it is on the page, but it is still like a big thing that we talk about. And I think we have 2 educational asks, one for bilingual and then I think one for after school that are pretty like not low in the grand scheme of things, but comparatively to the cannabis things and other things, I think we'll just optically, people will say like, this is for kids, this is for families. I think they need to be, I think you're just gonna end up having to do that anyway, and you're gonna be doing it in front of like everybody, so. I think it'd be thoughtful to maybe move some of the after school.
The after, yeah.
I think the after school one, I think that was that's the lead from, tell me if I'm wrong, Josephine, that was the big one for Mason, so. Yeah, so I think maybe moving after school up somewhere.
And it's directly related to also parents being able to work because.
Yes,
they can't
we
work
mentioned,
without
we
their
never
kids being
were
there.
talking about that.
Can we just switch the cannabis educational campaign with that, so it's in a
Right.
decent, it's in the top 10 basically from a prioritization
Well,
standpoint?
it's 9 right now, we
It's
said
not, I
10.
think we do.
Oh, I thought there was another one lower, I'm sorry.
That's the lowest.
You want
There is.
I was thinking we want to move it up on the top 10 list.
I think we move, I think
Move it above trash cans.
Yeah,
okay.
I would.
Even higher, I think. So.
I mean, listen, I don't, I think it's, you can go above the
I would put it
DOD.
at-
Yeah, technology upgrade.
Yeah, I think it goes above the DOD, so.
Make it number 4.
Before the litter. Before 7.
I think you make it 4 and just shift.
Everybody goes
Four?
down.
Everybody goes down.
How does everyone feel?
Oh, in front of cannabis. then,
Yeah.
In
there?
front of cannabis, so it becomes 4, cannabis becomes 5.
I'm comfortable with that.
Good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak from land use and say that DOB request for demolition issues has been such a ongoing fight with us. We have 15 properties in Hell's Kitchen that are being demolished as a result of DOB not having this, so I would urge us to leave that one above the educational program for immigrants.
Wait, the third one?
Number
It's
6.
not for
Number
immigrants.
6.
It's not for immigrants. All kids. It's for all kids.
I mean, this is not, the buildings in Hell's Kitchen are falling down because DOB is.
No, that's fine. I know, that's
It's
fine.
always a
Because
separate
we're-
agency
we're-
anyway.
we're spending money for after school programs, but that's fine. We're just asking for them to fund the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's
Can I,
fine.
can I make a suggestion then, instead of making that, but because I think the website ask for DOB is more realistic than the emergency repair program. And I think if you're comfortable, then flipping those two, and instead we move it up. And you don't lose the priority for.
So what's your, let me try this out. What you we flipping, Josie?
You're flipping the emergency repair program, number 3,
Uh-huh,
with where's the DOB, number 6.
just flipping them.
You're flipping
3
them.
goes to 6.
And then you're gonna move, then you're moving after school up to number 4 and shifting everything.
Sarah, go to number.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds good, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're right, that we'll probably get, it's more likely that we'll get funding for this.
Yeah, it's in the pipeline. It's just gonna take forever to build. The DOB now is just.
Thank you.
a mammoth.
And
Thank
3
you.
is to HPD, just in case that is useful.
Right.
Should not do it.
Not DOB.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. Any other
That's it.
questions?
No? Thank
Well
you.
done. Thank you, everybody.
Yay.
We have a statement. Nicely done, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Oh,
With that,
Oh,
second,
hold on. Jessica with the motion, or Maria with the motion.
Second.
Second, Jessica. All in favor? Cameras on. Voting. Aye. Any opposed? Present, not eligible. Abstentions? We now have a statement.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Bravo.
thank you to all the committees, really, thank you to all the committees and the task force that really,
Yeah, you guys all did really.
you did really good work. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, in really good time. I mean, it's not easy and.
I did turn it around.
It is a lot, yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, a couple of updates from the chair. Interesting, I wanted to share sort of going on some of the topics come out of the budget task force borough board this month. Gail Brewer shared the fact that she joined folks from the neighborhood along with deliveristas flyering to bicycle delivery people, largely organized through check pads and the pedestrian people for pedestrian safety or something group. And Gail raved about it. There was very favorable feedback in the flyering that they did to help educate a lot of the delivery folks. And so from that, I've now circulated that flyer on the request of others too across all community boards. So hopefully, like, there is a greater desire to educate as opposed to just penalize. I think it's a good place to come from, and given the positive feedback that we got when we did it, it was a good thing. And Gail was the one to raise that. So just wanted to make you all aware of that coming from our own backyard. Standard stuff is continuing, Port Authority, a lot of stuff to be digging on. We're reviewing the DEIS and sort of really moving that through in a very detailed, granular way. There continues to be a lot of talk about when committees will take this on, but just frankly, we're not there yet as this work continues with the port. We had 2 housing related meetings. One was with Councilman Botcher and representatives from HPD regarding a number of pieces of our housing plan to see what, if anything, HPD and city planning, actually, correction, the meeting was with city planning and Councilman Botcher and us to see what parts of our housing plan could go through city planning. A lot of it, the realization was actually we need to meet with HPD. Part of the issue is in the past 6 months, there's been significant turnover as it relates to leadership on housing in this administration. So we are now looking to set up a meeting with HPD about a number of things. DCP remains resistant to a number of what we think are pieces of low-hanging fruit in our housing plan. So I have to say Eric is keen to keep this going forward. So we'll be continuing to meet on that. And then separately, as well as the state elected officials prepare to go back to Albany. We had a specific meeting with them about the state sites that are outlined in our district. The Site K RFP is out and now closed. The state has not told us how many people applied for it, but there was a lot of interest in that RFP, which you'll recall, the governor reissued it, and it now allows for up to 12 FAR residential and the remaining mixed use commercial. And previously it was only 6 residential FAR. So this is a real way to begin meeting our goals for 11th Avenue increase in FAR. The city is still resistant to that, but the state is hopefully leading there. And also some creative discussions on how do we package the state sites to make them sort of more broadly appealing for the governor and her administration as a way to think about framing these things. So 2 very productive meetings as it relates to housing stuff with our levels of electeds. Pier 76 working group, that also continues. We formally have 1 meeting left on that task force, and then in a discussion with Noreen, I'd like for us to request a small meeting with the trust team so we can have a more granular discussion. This task force is made up of 4 members of CB4, a couple of folks from boards 1 and 2, and then a whole bunch of other interested partners. But given that this is literally our backyard in 76, it's time to kind of dig in on that. Mind you, we are still a very long way away from anything happening, but there's a lot of things that need to happen first, like a complete redevelopment of all the pier piles and the pier deck before we can even consider what goes on top of it. So there's just a lot of stuff that needs to happen, but it took 28 years to remove the tow pound. So hopefully it doesn't take 28 years to have there be a new park there. Just want to be mindful of that. NYCHA working group, we now have a standing meeting, a standing small meeting with the partners at NYCHA, Essence and Related, and our respective land use and housing committee co-chairs. There was meetings on the topic, both joint committee and separate committee meetings this past month. And I'll be honest, I think it's actually gonna cool down a bit as a lot more information is requested. And frankly, we're still waiting on the scoping documents and the EIS. So just so you know, like, don't anticipate this being on committee agendas every month going forward, sort of where we are in the process. And these are the things we're gonna start talking about at our sort of one-on-one meetings as we come out of this. I think that's it for, I'm looking to you, Mr. District Manager, if I missed anything.
No, I think you got it.
Okay. Yes, Paul.
Hell's Kitchen Land Use, we had an update from Port Authority Working Group. And it seems like a lot has changed over the past year in terms of the original plans and the current plans. And so I'm curious if there's some way that maybe we could have some sort of public disclosure of some of those conversations.
Two factors on that. One is we are an official participating agency with the federal government. And so part of it is there's things that are not public yet. And so we do not want to undermine our ability to have these conversations, given that, quite frankly, the port is talking to us more than they're talking to city planning and DOT.
Right.
So I think that your co-chair is very keen to make this as public as possible and know that, like, that is a shared interest. But we also don't want to undermine our regular conversations with the port in that regard.
Okay.
And I do think that 2024, there will be a lot made public.
Yeah, I think 2025,
And Bert,
I mean,
sorry.
early 25 is when we'll get the DEIS public. And when it's, you have the DEIS is made public,
That's much-
everything is in there and you can see it.
But even in the scope for the DEIS comes first, right? So the scoping
Yeah,
parameters are only.
Yeah, right now we are working on clarifying the DEIS for them to publish it.
And so,
You know, we
Let's go,
all.
yeah, let's go.
once it's out,
Scope that already happened.
Let's go.
Right.
Years ago.
once the DIS is out,
Right, then it's content.
then it's public,
Then it's public.
and then everybody can jump.
Okay, all right, great.
But we have made a couple of requests to be as soon as
Maybe
physically
before.
possible,
Right, right.
to be
To
able
have
to
this.
do something public.
Start
Some
showing
pre-push,
out.
yes.
You are completely correct. We
Because
talked about this at night.
Every time they have to go to the Federal Transport Administration and ask whether it's okay or not to do it.
Right.
From a lawyer standpoint. So this is. a big-
And your other
Yeah.
question, Paul?
I have two of them.
Yeah.
Are you tackling city of yes in a new business?
So we can
Section.
I was gonna sort of flag it as a closer, given that it's coming and we are signing on to I'll talk about it now. So City of Yes for Economic Development is coming down the pike. This is the third City of Yes initiative from this administration. Do not get this confused. This is only the second one, because housing opportunity is
But
will
it's
be the
like when
third.
I'm watching, there's
Yeah,
some confusion
there's
about
time.
that, but it's really the
Really
second,
convenient.
yeah.
So, yeah, so these are some pretty significant proposals being put out there. We are signing on to a letter to request additional time to opine. I'll be honest, I don't think we're gonna get it. But this is, Jesse, it's a text amendment.
Yeah.
And not a sort of a full transformative rezoning. And so there's some different factors in that. One of the issues is that city planning is thin as it relates to their resources to staff these things. And so we were told very explicitly that we'll get a briefing at a public meeting and there will not be follow-ups to be had with individual community boards. So is there more than that you were wanting to flag?
Well, yeah, I mean, the question of whether, do we need to have a motion from this committee to send that letter in support of the other boards and we're signing on to it, or is that something more administrative?
It feels kind of admin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the budget request for George James, is that something we also need to discuss, or is that also an administrative thing?
It's not, it's an, I mean, I would say it's a committee to committee thing. I don't think it needs an executive.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
All
not
right,
enough
so we're
money.
going to-
I'll say this, it's not enough money to warrant us.
I think it's all admin.
It's all admin. Okay.
The Brooklyn Community Board letter, no specific time mentioned. Is it irrelevant? Because we're not gonna get it anyway.
I mean, Bert, there was a lot of edits that I would make to that letter, but I didn't want to open that can of worms.
That letter was-
So it was more sort of like going along to
I got you.
put the thumb on the scale as much as we possibly can.
Okay.
Agreed, I would-
There are other kinds of words we could open if we're doing it.
Christine,
So what is the timeline for this,
we have a standard 30-day comment
yes.
period,
and it's already out there, are you going to,
60 days, sorry.
you're going to send it around to, I mean, I don't know whether transportation has anything to say about it.
I can definitely send it.
Right, okay.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been referred out, so to be clear,
Oh.
it has not been referred out yet.
We know it's
So we
coming.
can, I can send you what we have, which is, they've done informationals, they're doing these broad. Basic, campaign of doing these very large informationals, we can send you that, I can send you what CB1 did hire George James. And a couple other boards have done this, and so they're gonna, who's a planner and does this analysis and will provide that. So I'll send you that link as well, so.
CB1 or CB3?
It was
CB1, no, I'm sorry, you're right, I apologize, CB3. Thank
So
you.
the 60
CB3.
days hasn't started yet, is that what you're saying?
No, but I will, when I get to my thing, my part of it, we do have a joint land use committee set for November 8th. So that will be our chance to hear everything. Yeah, it'll be our.
Also, while we're on this subject, there is a scoping meeting for housing opportunity from 2 to 5 p.m. via Zoom, where the public can opine on the CBS.
Well, that's the housing one.
The housing.
That's what's frustrating is like they're all, right, they're all opportunities.
And then housing
Yeah.
opportunity.
So, and they're at different phases, so it's not as though one is scoping, one is a referral, so it's.
Any other questions on this, Alan? Okay,
It's reported that the city is lifting the cap on for hire cars.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Is this something
yes, for electric vehicles.
Is this something for
It's-
borough board?
They're putting it on the agenda, and I think that's an excellent point. Once we have a letter, I'll bring it to Borough Board in November. Thank you. Any other all topic chair questions? Okay. Jesse?
We'll go back. Yeah, so I'm sorry, so you guys, the agenda, the full board agenda is in your Dropbox. There's hard copies here. Please take a look, so there's no surprises. We'll be chasing you all down, starting that Thursday.
And where is the full board
The
taking
full board
place?
is gonna be at Hotel Trades Council, which is 44th Street, right off of 8th, between 8th and 9th. Housing just had their committee meeting there and went really well, in my opinion. We're not gonna hire our vendor because they already have sort of a tech setup that I think is sufficient. And the sound is really good, I think. The space is enormous, so that's fantastic. Though why I want to save the money for the vendor is because I think eventually I do think we can get to a place where we can be using more of these spaces outside of our office right here, which will allow bigger meetings, the normal meetings to happen. And I want to be able to use him accordingly to that.
When you say our vendor, who is our vendor?
It's a studio, it's a video audio studio that does stuff for other community boards, does stuff for schools, that kind of thing. So he provides the staff, again, the cameras, and all of that, so.
We're out, like not here, but we're someplace.
Yeah, like when we do our full boards, like we did our full board on the High Line, his staff was there running all of the cameras, making sure it all ran
So when
smoothly.
we were at Pier 57,
Pier 57 is different because all of
That's
that is
theirs.
built in, yeah. So I'm gonna just, yeah, I can talk about this more later, but want to start utilizing places that can
Have their own.
host us and then also can use their own AV. And Pier 57 is one of those spaces we really like. I think that worked predominantly well. What?
Exactly.
Yeah, the doors lock at 8, the system shuts off. Yeah, there's some boundaries we have to create. So, yeah, anyway, so that's the agenda. Please take a look and make sure that we got all of our letters correctly. Janine is back. which is great. But so, you know, I will not, full disclosure, the month of October has been rough. So we might be missing stuff, so please take a look at that letter, your agenda, to make sure we have all the right stuff in it. And then I also.
They didn't mind the clue is not at 57 on the form, if we are moving it.
You're talking about the committee agenda.
Yeah.
Yes, right, yeah, because I haven't got confirmation about that yet.
And where are we?
What?
Where's it going here?
That is still being figured out. Because I wanted to use hotel trades as well, but they were booked, so I need to, thinking Hartley House, the Fountain House, somewhere in that area. Anyway, also there's the November, as Jessica mentioned, there's November committee schedule in your Dropbox. There's hard copies here as well. Please take a look, as Jeffrey said, don't just look at your own committee, look at other people's committees, and then you can say, hey, why is this person talking about this topic I want to know, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so again, the committee schedule is always a snapshot of like literally where we are today. It will continually change. Hopefully by Friday, I'll have locations for everybody, but it couldn't even change after that. So that's good. The good news is I started working with Mount Sinai West, who seem to be open to hosting us again. So that will be lovely to get back into that large room.
And maybe they've equipped it with some technology.
I think I mean, they'd already had a pretty good tech setup already, so we'd still probably have to use our vendor, but they have a screen, they have mics that open. Anyway, so real quickly about November, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Right, so we're doing a joint committee of land use, so that's Clinton House Kitchen and Chelsea, and that's on November 8th. Location to be determined. Everything else is pretty much the same, except for BLP, right, who's moving to November 14th. I think that's due to election day, that would be the office is closed and then the city is technically on holiday. And then obviously up in the air about actually Chelsea's regular meeting, whether we're required or not, we don't, obviously we can get rid of it. And I think that's all I have to say.
Any questions for Jeffy? A couple of other bits under new business. We covered the city of Yes, the rezonings that are coming. Christine, I want to pass it over to you for that update on the Amtrak 10th Avenue stuff.
Yes, so much fun. Amtrak, so they are doing, you all understand the Gateway program, which is to connect all the a lot of trains from New Jersey and come into the city. And the portion of the Gateway program, which goes under the Hudson, is called the Hudson Tunnel. And that's the piece which is going to connect New Jersey and Penn Station with a duplicated tunnel. So they came to present to us, Jesse's probably there, and told us everything. It's very complicated. There's a lot of things. There will be work under the river. There will be work under the at 30th Street and then under 10th Avenue. So we asked, when are all those things going to take place? And essentially they told them, oh, we have plenty of time, and 26 10th Avenue is not happening until the end of 25 or 26. And then 2 days later, we got an email saying, oh, by the way, we are, doing some tests on 10th Avenue, and we're going to close it Monday. And we're going to close it for 4 weeks. But we're going to close 2 days. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You just presented to us that everything was cool until 26. So I spent a portion of my Saturday calling people with some kind of WTF phone calls.
What trade generation?
And we were successful in them stopping it, and they are postponing to next week, and they are creating a flyer. And they are creating a flyer, and they are going to send a flyer to everybody. And I said, you should also do only one lane, because that section on 10th Avenue is between 34 and 20 and 34, right? And they are all the loading docks are related. So now you probably have those huge trucks backing up into that, and I don't know how they can do it.
And then you have the Morgan Annex at
Yeah,
30th Street on
This was like, the more I was thinking about it, I said, you are out of your mind, why did you do that? And what a way to start a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So we got them back a little bit in the corner, and the woman was very good. What was that, Rebecca?
Yeah, Rebecca.
Right, she was good. I called her, I said, I'm not sending the letter, but I was going to send a crazy email to everybody saying, what is wrong with you?
Where are they from?
What do you mean, where are they from?
No,
Washington, DC.
No, they do,
It's in Washington, I mean, it's like they never
they are
went
in Washington.
on 10th Avenue and 30th Street,
Right,
and know what actually is going on.
No. Right, this is crazy. This is crazy.
I'm
They must
sorry,
have been
yeah,
working in the, the Meadowlands for the last 20 years. I just think you are, so anyway, that was not fun, but fun. And this is where we are. So we'll, Jesse, you are going to get a flyer. I told them to call those different buildings, and then we'll go from there.
And of course, the important question is, how does it affect the EMS?
No, the EMS is fine. They are doing everything to protect the EMS.
Wait, so the EMS number 7 is gonna be moving from 23rd to 29th Street?
Yes.
When?
Yeah, but that's not.
No,
that's-
the only thing they are doing is.
Well, that's what I'm
These are
saying.
separate, these are separate things.
No, but they are protecting the space,
Yeah,
because they were
the budget's been
initially,
approved and
right,
it's
they
gonna.
were initially going to use it as a staging, and that would have done.
Yeah,
10
they're
years.
gonna use it as staging.
Right.
for the
So
big-
now they are looking at closing 29 and putting the staging there,
Yes.
and they are working on all those things.
So I can tell people who hit me on the head as I walk down the street, know what's gonna happen soon.
Yes, eventually.
So that's it,
Thank you, Christine. Maria,
fun.
for a feel good update
Feel good.
or a do good update.
Do good update, our annual giveaway. This year, it is going to be in 4 weeks, and it's gonna be a coat drive. And usually, we've done it in the past where it's like 2 days, 1 day bringing in things, the next day having people come to pick up the donations. This year, all in 1 day in 4 hours. Saturday, November 18th, mark your calendars. Who's volunteering? Paul. He already raised his hand. He's always there. I know you're gonna come. by and drop off stuff. Carrie, thank you. Jeffrey always comes every year, and drops off donations, so.
Always something that before Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, usually, so the 18th,
I'm
and
going to
I
do it.
wanted to actually do it sooner, so this is a little late for me. But the 18th, from 1 to 3 is when people can drop off items. At Metro Baptist Church on 41st Street. If you want to donate something sooner, I'm willing to, Katie, you know where I live, you can drop off stuff at the doorman, or we can meet and I can create something, okay? Yeah, and that's it, from 1 to 3, dropping off coats.
It's only coats.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, it's not at 10 minutes this year.
Well, yes, if you're gonna donate some new ones, of course, we'll take them. People need that, right? But on the flyers, I'm just putting coats.
So coats can be new or gently used.
Coats can be new or gently.
The hats and mittens would be new.
You're
Yes.
not doing, like sweatpants and that's, well, last year we did a
No.
lot. 'cause-
No, but some people show up.
I think Metro Baptist runs its own,
Yeah,
we
they do.
circulated that link, because there was a wish list also, because I keep
Yeah.
getting told to buy a pack of 500 toothbrushes.
And I did actually want to do socks and like undergarments and underwear, but Tiffany said she has a lot of that, and actually, so that's why we're gonna do coats. And Jesse's gonna help out a lot, anybody else who's willing to help out.
We'll send around, we will send around a sort of request for help email, I think we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
So we can know about it, and we can do some.
And this is kid sizes as well as adults.
Yeah, we're gonna do children and adults.
Excellent.
And then we reach out
There's
to
something else.
normal donors.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 to 3, dropping off from 3 to 5, having people come and pick up the donations, okay?
Thank you, Maria. And then finally, sort of circling back to the topic meeting, I should have mentioned this in my report, but it is new business because it hasn't happened. We're meeting with Vornado in person on Wednesday and their contractor to talk about the timeline. And I have, Pier 94, and I mean, I have to say, that construction staging fence went up a week after that lease was signed.
Yeah.
And they have been doing work. If the construction goes past a certain timeline, the lease is subject to significant fines. And so hopefully, like, we can maintain this new demeanor as it relates to Pier 94. There's a couple of us attending the groundbreaking tomorrow, which is tomorrow afternoon. Dealing with the mayor attend, but I know there'll be a number of other folks, but like it's a significant groundbreaking. And we'll see. I think we're gonna meet regularly with Vornado. I would assume quarterly with Vornado, maybe less with EDC, because frankly, EDC signs these leases and gives the projects away. So turning a page on Pier 94. Any other new business?
Oh,
Christine?
I attended the one of the open space
Open New
for
York.
open space for Penn.
The Public Realm Task Force for Penn Station.
Task Force. So finally, we had a discussion there where the question was, which section do we want to start with? And it was recommended.
Public Realm?
Yes.
Okay.
You know that the state has put $50 million aside to do that. So they wanted to start in some place, and indeed, they said on 32nd Street, which is right next to the Penn which has been destroyed, and so people were pretty upset about that because it's
32nd and 7th Avenue by the former Hotel Pennsylvania.
yes, yes, and so that seemed to be. I pushed for 8th Avenue to be done because we already have and so they are going to make a decision about what's going on. I also pushed for the design of everything to be done before they spend all the money on the street next to Vornado.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Well, there's something actually, it's Josephine that brought it up at ACES, the book.
Yeah.
We are doing a book drive. We don't have details, more details, because I would give them to you, but we're partnering with Open Hearts Initiatives. I don't know if anybody knows that organization. They've been doing homeless work in this area. They are now located in our district in the Midtown area. They got a huge grant from Columbia, so they're expanding, and we're going to partner on a book drive. PS 111 is already signed on. We're probably going to also do Midtown West. And we're going to start with the shelter on 41st Street, West 41st Street, the permanent shelter. So we're going to do, they're building a library there. So we're going to, the drive is going to be about for 100 books. And then we may also include another shelter on West 49th Street.
And I feel like book donations could add up quickly. So what is it that, what is the, I know, it's like, oh, here's the book. So what is the local, like the library in the shelter kind of thing?
Yes.
So all age kind of stuff?
Yes, they're asking for kids for, all ages basically in both shelters. So, and it's mostly English, some Spanish, some Russian.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that we're gonna get mostly English. I've tried the Skyline because we wanted to do a HERC, but they never call back. And they're the only HERC I know that actually has space to have dedicated light in that. Right, but they don't call back, so.
So Josephine, I reached out just this morning, so I'll see if I get.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
But the 41st one isn't open, right? Like this is a plan for the future.
No,
No, the first.
yeah,
That's
it's
open?
yeah.
Where is
Okay,
it between one?
and I guess we need to put some pressure, we need to find more pressure on the Skyline. Because
It's just a different, I mean, it's not even a shelter, so you have to recognize, remember the Skyline is, well, it's still just a hotel, temporary hotel shelter, so their ability to, manage it, it's just, I wish we would be better, but it's just not there.
The management is changing all the time, so it's
Yeah,
it's difficult, right?
Jesse
Greenwald.
Jesse Greenwald.
Sorry, I may have missed it. It may have been mentioned already, but just a flag for everyone that tomorrow the Cannabis Task Force is having its first ever hearing on our dispensary applications. We have 6 who are applying for both Chelsea and Hell's Kitchen areas, and it should be an interesting evening. So.
Thank you. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all online.